Hi, I'm Steve Good. Welcome to my scroll saw workshop. Out in the shop tonight to do a video, and tonight what we're going to do is we're going to make a hammer. Well, we're not going to make the hammer, but we're going to personalize the hammer. I'll give you a close-up look here at what we're going to do. Here's a little better look at what we're going to do tonight. This is a 16-ounce hammer that I purchased at Big Lots for like $6, so it's a pretty inexpensive hammer. And but you can obviously buy higher quality hammers if you want to give these away as gifts. And what we're going to do is we're going to scroll the name of the person we're going to give this to in the handle. And I'm going to show you the technique required to do that. Now, I don't know how well you can see this, but these letters are cut all the way through the handle. So that's the project we're going to work on tonight. I want to talk about what we're going to need tonight to build this project. And first of all, we need the hammer, of course. And this happens to be a 16-ounce hammer that I bought for $6 at Big Lots. So obviously it's a pretty inexpensive hammer, but it looks pretty good. Now, of course, when I bought it, it had a paper label on it, plus it had some printing and ink on it. So I did go ahead and remove the label and used a sander to sand off the ink printing. And I've got it looking nice and clean, and this is what we'll be cutting our name in. So we need the hammer. Obviously, the next thing we're going to need is the pattern. Now, what you will need to make these patterns is a stencil font. And I'll be posting a link to the font that you can use to create these. And all you have to do is just install the font, then load up any word processor that'll accept, different fonts, and select the stencil font and print it out. And you may have to experiment a little bit with the size. But for this hammer, I needed a font that was about 3/4 of an inch high. So that's what I did. The last thing we're going to need, and this isn't absolutely necessary, but I find it real helpful, and that's a jig to hold the hammer. Now, you could make a universal jig, but I don't do that. I just build them for whatever hammer I happen to have because they're so simple to put together. Basically, all I did was I took a piece of 1/4 inch MDF, and I laid the hammer down on it, and I cut out a square in the area where we're going to be making the name cutting. Then I lay the hammer down on the MDF, to where it fits nicely in the middle. And I just take these scraps of wood and strategically place them around the handle so the handle can't move in any direction as we're doing our cutting. So this gives me a nice sled that I can turn on the scroll saw and make my cuts a little easier to control. So that's all we're going to need tonight. We're going to apply the pattern to the handle like this, and I think it looks better when you're doing this to have the hammer on the left end pointing down. I think that's the most attractive way to do it. And you can, of course, you've got from wherever we cut out this opening in here, and I made the opening about the length of the handle minus about 1/4 of an inch on this end. So depending on the shape of your handle, get the name applied to it in the place you want to cut it. And I'll go ahead and do that, and then we'll go over to the drill press and drill the entry holes. Okay, I've got the pattern applied. Try to keep it nice and straight along the length of the handle. And I did go ahead and put a little clear box tape over it just to prevent any burning on this handle as we cut it. Okay, let's go over to the drill press. Got the hammer over here at the drill press. I'm going to leave it on the sled while I make the cut. While I'm thinking about it, some hammers may not set level on the sled. The head may be a little thicker than the end of the handle, and occasionally when you put this on here, you may have to shim up one end or the other just a little bit to get it as level as possible. So let's go ahead and make our entry holes. Stop right there because I want to tell you what I did. As I was drilling through the hammer handle, if you'll notice, I went in and out and in and out. What I was doing was letting the sawdust clear from the hole. So make 3 or 4 plunges in there to get all the way through. That'll help you prevent from breaking these small bits. And by the way, this is a 1/16 inch drill bit. I'm over here at the scroll saw now, and I've got my sled sitting on the scroll saw table with the hammer on it. All my entry holes have been drilled, and I've got a number 5 blade installed in the scroll saw. and I went ahead and put it through the first entry hole. Now these are a little bit harder to thread from the bottom, so if you're a top feeder you're going to have a little easier time. If you're a bottom feeder, you just have to lift the sled up and start the blade up from the bottom. I'm a bottom feeder, so that's the way I'll end up doing it. So it'll take a little longer, but that's okay. So what we're going to do now is go ahead and begin the first cut. As you want to get a good solid tension on this blade before you begin this cut, because this hammer's, handle's a little bit thick. So get a good tension so you don't drift very much. And I'm going to go ahead and begin the cut, and we'll see how we do on this first one. And when you go to make these turns, make sure you hold the hammer down to the sled, because we really don't have any mechanical device holding it down. Just a little bit of tape and one little section is all I got. So don't let the hammer bounce up off the sled on you. And there's our first cut on the name. I'll go ahead and cut just a few more minutes here and let you watch it. And then I'll turn it off, and the next time I see you, we'll be back over at the workbench. One more thing about blades. I have seen some other scrollers, when they cut hammers, they'll use spiral blades, and that does, of course, keep you from having to turn the sled. So if you're comfortable with using a spiral blade, you might find that a little easier. And there's another cut finished, and I'll go ahead and turn off the camera now, and as I'm finishing up, maybe I'll come back and cut the last letter with you.